So, you want to make a Risk of Rain 2 skin? Well, alright, let's do it. I want to start off by telling us that we are in Blender 3.4. You can, I've seen like other ones like tossed around that you have to use for Risk of Rain 2 mods, but from what I've experienced, 3.4 works just fine for what we're going to do. I'm going to make two videos. One is going to be like the streamlined version, it's going to be edited down, kind of like whatever. And then this one is going to be more in depth in like real time. Also time lapse like every now and then probably, but like through weight painting and stuff. But I'll explain it as we go. So I think today we're gonna make a huntress skin, which is something that I have not done yet. And for my model example that I'm going to use, I went to, I think it was Sketchfab, and I grabbed this man. For all intents and purposes, we'll call him Jeremy, and I think Jeremy would make a good hunter skin, don't you think? So we're gonna slap him on there and see what happens. So the first thing we're gonna need to do is you're gonna need to download something called assetstudio.gui, or I don't know if there's a dot in there, but it's Asset Studio GUI. And you're gonna download something that looks like this. Basically what this is the model ripper, and it's gonna rip the models from Risk of Rain 2 so that you can edit the skins. So we're gonna go here, we're gonna go to load file. And as you can see, we're in my Risk of Rain 2 folder, but we'll need to go to, for you, it'll probably be the C drive. For me, it's the D drive. That's just where my Steam folder is. And we'll go to Steam. We'll go to Steam Apps, Common. We'll go to Risk of Rain 2, Risk of Rain 2 underscore data, streaming assets. I know, bear with me. We're going to go to and then we're going to go to standalone Windows 64. Wonderful. Now we're going to look up Huntress. Now you're going to see 4 or so things that pop up. Don't worry, it'll all make sense soon. So we're going to look specifically for the one that says base Huntress bin assets underscore all dot bundle. That's the one we want. It's going to upload this, or download this little string of numbers and letters here. And luckily ours is pretty easy. I'll leave a link to like the index, which we'll go over later. That'll kind of describe what the model names are and stuff and what you need to look for, because some of them are named different. I think Artificer is called Mage in the files and stuff like that. So there's like different names and code names and stuff, and it'll all be in the file that I'll link below. So we're gonna go to Model, Huntress, and this is what we want. So we're gonna click this one. It's gonna select all of these. And we're going to go to Options, Export Options, and make sure that all nodes cast to bone is selected. It should look exactly like this, but this is the important one, all nodes cast to bone. And we're not going to go to Export, but we're going to go to Model. We're going to go Export Selected Objects, in parentheses, Split. And we're going to select our folder that we want this to be put in. I, of course, have a Huntress folder ready to go. Oh wait, no, sorry. Actually, I put this in my assets folder because this is the vanilla assets. There we go. And wonderful. Now we have our model. It's a 3D object, so it's a .obj file, I think. Or no, it's an FBX, I'm sorry. Yep, FBX. So we no longer need this open, so we can close this. And I'm going to import that FBX. So we're going to go over here to import, down to FBX. Get back out of this. We're going to go to our Huntress files. Right here. And then here's our FBX. And you're going to be wondering, Audrey, where is it? Where's my model? Where's my model? You're pulling my leg here. Not quite. We're going to go to scripting now. And what we need to do here is actually already made for us. And this handy dandy script right here, which we will go here. And depending on the version of Blender you're using, you're going to want to use a specific one of these. Since we're using 3.4, we're going to go to 3.0 plus. We're going to go down to, where are you? Huntress. No, let's work in progress. Well, hopefully it works. If not, we might need to try a different survivor. Didn't know it was a work in progress. We're going to take that. Oh, sorry. I should probably describe what I was doing. So I click this. It's going to copy the raw contents. Or you click this and it'll take you to a different page, or you can just copy and paste it yourself. But this will copy it directly to your clipboard. And basically this is a script that's going to fix the model and kind of like bring it up to Blender like compatibility. So we're going to click new here. We don't really need to name it anything. We can just copy and paste the script right in. And we're going to click, boom, run. And there she is. Hey, it worked. Model's a bit big though. Jeremy needs to be scaled down a bit, so we'll do that. So I'm going to press R to rotate him. And then what angle is this? Oops, wrong way. We're going to press Z, RZ. And then we do 180. There we go. And we're going to scale him down. Kind of like fit him as close to the model as possible. Is that the scarf? Oh shit, I was like, what is that, a bottle opener? There we go. All right, there. And then we can take the Huntress model and actually hide that. Take the scarf and hide that. Then we're going to click the skeleton. Oh wait, first of all, we should apply transforms. So click the model before you do anything. Click the model. Press Control A and apply your transforms. And that is very important because when you start, you know, like parenting to the bone and stuff, if you don't apply your transforms, it's a whole thing. It's going to deform and not look great. It's going to look super whack and you're not going to know why. Well, always apply your transforms. That's super important. So we have our model, we have our infrastructure, our little armature. And we're going to go here, we're going to go to viewport display and click in front. That'll show us the armature through the model. Now, next thing we need to do is hit save. And also I do recommend having multiple saves because there are multiple points in this process where it could go wrong and you're not going to know why. It's good to have those checkpoints to go back, and you might like need to go a bit further than you might intend, and it's good to have the things to sort of keep you covered. So next what we're going to do is go into pose mode and kind of pose this into the shape of our model. We're actually going to press this X up here that says apply changes to matching bone on opposite side of X-axis. That's the symmetry. And then watch as we rotate this, it rotates the other side. Bueno. This is a very easy model to adapt, I think. It's already got the pretty consistently, like, just the same proportions. So it's not too hard to work with. There we are. I'll probably speed through this process a little bit. But luckily, like I said, the model is already a little, well, very close to the armature that we already had. So we don't need to do too much editing. But depending on the survivor you do, you may need to tweak it a bit more, possibly go into edit mode and kind of adjust some of the scales. But once you're done that, as you can see, we're pretty much done. We're going to click this and hit Control A once more and apply pose to rest position. And what that'll do is, oops, shit, there you go. What that'll do is kind of set this as the base. This is the rest. So when we click rest position, it'll go to this. And that's super important because that's what's going to make the model sort of adhere to the rules of the armature, as it were. So we have our thing, we have our armature. Depending on the model that you have, if you have more than one material, which of course here I only have the one texture, which is this texture right here, the material Lambert, we will need to UV wrap the model. But since we only have one material, we don't need to. If you had more than one, you would. And the way you would do that is basically go into cycles and you'd go down here and do this baking process. I can leave a link to a description to a tutorial for that. This isn't, I don't have the time to go into it right now, unfortunately, but basically you just go in here and go to the ones that you want. In Risk of Rain, I would say mainly diffuse, and if you really need to, normal, but mostly diffuse are the important ones. And you'd bake those. And yeah, and then you'd have your textures. And it's important because if you put your model into Unity, or rather into Risk of Rain, I think is where the problem resides, and you have more than one material, it's only going to load the first material. So it's very important that you have one material because it's only ever going to load that one material when you put it into Risk of Rain. So it'll be an incomplete model otherwise. So one texture is good. And I'll show you the process once you get into Unity as well. Sorry if that doesn't make any sense. If you have any questions, feel free to poke me. But... So yeah, we are going to finally parent this to the armature. So we're going to click the model, shift click the armature, and then Control P. And depending on the model, you may need to empty groups armature to form it, but for right now we're going to try and do the automatic weights. Automatic weights is pretty good. It's normally right maybe 85-90% of the time. Depending on the model and the complexity of it, it may need to be adjusted. Ours is very simple, so it might not be that bad. So we're going to try out automatic weights. And there's a bone heat weighting issue. So what that tells me is that usually doesn't happen. That is actually a surprise. So usually that means that there's like some vertices overlapping or something. What you can do is go into edit mode, select the entire model, press M, and then go merge by distance. And there we go. As you can see, it removed 344 vertices. That's just kind of cleaning it up a bit. And then we'll click this, do the process again, see if that works. Automatic weights. Still nothing. We may need to do empty groups on this one, which is fine. It'll let me show you the process of how we do weight painting. So normally, and somebody who's better at Blender will probably tell me in the comments, how exactly to fix this. And if you can, please do. I would love to know. But in the meantime, we're going to do empty groups. So what this does is it basically just parents the armature or parents the model to the armature, but it doesn't assign weights. And as you can see, we're going to move this, and it doesn't move, but it is parented. Watch. They move together. We just need to weight paint it ourselves. Fortunately, this is a very simple model. It's just a humanoid, human. So we're gonna turn these down. I'm using my mouse, not a tablet. And right over here, we're gonna go to vertex groups, object data properties, vertex groups, and we're gonna scroll to the top. And these are basically weight painting categories. So we have the stomach, which is this like bone right here. And we're just gonna paint that really lightly. The stomach doesn't need to be too bad. If you did automatic weights, you can really skip this part. But it would be important to kind of like check through the groups to make sure everything is assigned properly. So if you want to know how to assign things properly, by all means watch this part. But so we're just gonna kind of do that. Get the nice little paint going in here. The stomach I tend to not do too thick. But it is good to get that. I'm so colorblind. I think this is yellow. I'm red-green colorblind, so If I call it the wrong color, feel free to laugh. And then what I like to do, you don't need to do this. Like, it's not a requirement. But what I do is I go to smooth, go here, and I go to like active group, which will just smooth the group that you have selected. And I'll do it like 2 or 3 times. Never really more than 3. Two or three is usually fine. More often 2. So yeah, that's our stomach done. And next is chest, which is right up here. So we can actually turn our strength up a bit more for this one. And then we're going to just kind of go crazy, go stupid, go crazy. Just paint all over. Body is your canvas. It's just like finger painting, really. It's almost cathartic. I probably don't need to go that low, honestly. Turn the strength up a bit, turn the radius up. There we go. Awesome. I like to make the so if you're not familiar with weight painting, the process is the more red the color, the more, what's a good word, bounds to the bone it is. Like when that bone moves, this part absolutely moves with it. That's what the red means. Everything lower than that is just like, I don't know, diet versions of that. Like it's just like it gets softer and it moves less with that bone. If that makes sense. Sorry if that is confusing. But basically the red means that it's absolutely going to move with that bone, and the blue, green, yellow means that it's not as attached, depending on the color. Warmer is powerful, and colder is weaker. And then we're going to do our smooth. Perfect. I'm going to do a little fade, actually. So we're going to bring this strength down, and then we're going to just kind of boop right there. Boop, boop, shit, too much. Boop right there. We'll smooth it one more time. Point. The upper arms aren't that important, so I'm actually going to trim these down a bit. Bada bing, bada boom. Love to see it. Love to see it. Now upper arm, left. So that's this side. Stage left. Or well, I don't know if that's stage left actually. I think it's just, well, no, that is stage left. Now it's stage left. Probably turn that strength up. And this is the part again, if you did automatic weights, you would just kind of clean up the ones that the automatic weights did. It would make the process quicker. But like I said, always kind of look through it because there's always something you missed. Like the chest is bound to the foot. It gets weird. It's more or less usually correct though. So it's still good to use. There's our upper arm. Honestly, I probably should have turned on symmetry for this. Well, actually, I don't know if that would affect the vertex group equivalent, but probably good to just do this. We'll do the lower arm. Wait, do the hands. Now, the hand is good to kind of make deep red. Like, basically, you want the hand to move with the hand, or the hand bone rather. So darker is better on this one, or warmer rather. Guess they're all the same shade, really. Bueno. Now the fingers are always the most tedious part because there's so many, and you gotta paint each individual joint. But we'll blow through it real quick. I'll probably time skip this. You get the idea. Honestly, I just realized we can probably hide our skeleton so it's not in the way. As you can see, I am not perfect. That's okay. Go back to weight paint mode. There we go. All right, and those are the hands done. That's the most tedious part, I think. But next is the head, and the head is one of the easiest. The head you just want to be completely red. More often than not, just completely red. Unless you have maybe a hood or something, but that's a different story. So we're just going to take this, we're going to set the strength actually to 1, set that radius up, and we're just going to paint till our heart's content. We're just going to make this baby red. And boom. Bada bing, bada boom. That's how you do it. And we're going to smooth it just in case, for good measure. Why not? Do that twice. Actually going to subtract from the neck a little bit, because the neck's its own subgroup, or its own vertex group, rather. So it's probably best to just have a little less here. But yeah, it's an Adam's apple. All right, pelvis is next on the list. So we'll go down here. And pelvis. Like that. Doesn't need to be completely red, but it does need to be pretty solid. Think of it like painting underwear on the poor guy. Just like the pelvic bone. I'm going to bring down the strength a little bit, set the radius up, and then we're just going to kind of blur the line a bit. Blur the line. Right, just like that. Beautiful. Go up here a bit too. Oops, don't want to get the arm. There we go. All right, then we're going to blur one more time, just because I don't like how hard the edges are. And then there we are. That's underwear form. It's not perfect. This isn't the best paint job I've done, but it gets the job done. Like I said, it's a simple model. You don't need to worry too much. And if you need to go back and redo it, then, well, not redo it, but touch it up rather, you can always reload the blend file and give it a little touch up. It's easy. Next you have thigh left, which is this one. So we're gonna turn that strength up because this is a very independent bone, I guess. It's like not part of like the core. So we kind of want this one to be real red. Because we want this to parent directly to the thigh bone. And if you get lost and kind of like forget which bone's which, or you're not entirely sure which one is which, you can always go into edit mode or pose mode even and click the armature that you're trying to distinguish the name of, and it'll tell you right up here in the left. It'll tell you what you're looking at. Look at that spot up there on the right thigh. We do not want that. Beautiful. That's a pretty good job. We'll just smooth it a little bit so we can get rid of those hard edges, and bada bing, bada boom. There we are. Awesome. I should also mention that really the only two tools, I guess, that you need in weight paint are add and subtract. I don't know what the difference between add and draw is because I've used them both accidentally, like interchangeably, and nothing happened. So maybe they are just the same. I don't know, but someone who's better at Blender can probably fill me in on that. We'll go to calf left, which is this one. Remember, it's the opposite left if you're facing the model. It's his left, not your left. I like to go a bit into the foot with the calf. It's just I find it gives the most. I don't even know what you would really call it. The most. It plays nice. It helps the armature play nice with the model and the animations in the long run. I think. I haven't had time like bad time with it, but it's probably optional to kind of bring it down this far. Smooth again. Boom. There we go. We'll get rid of some of that. A little too much. A little too overzealous. There we go. It can probably be more yellowish, yellow-green. There we go. Awesome. Now foot left. Now you would think you would want the whole thing to be red, and you're more or less correct, but we're gonna leave the toes a little more on the yellow-green side. Probably even a little less than that. Oops. Wait, no, I'm on the right one. There we go. Like that. And we'll go to toe left, because toe is its own subgroup, or own vertex group, rather. And we'll just paint that red. Bring it up a bit. Maybe even smooth it from here. There we go. Awesome. We'll do the same to the other side. And this is the last group. Toe. So right. Awesome. And another thing worth mentioning, if you have weight paints already on there and you don't want to lose them, um, like say you're like trying to reattach the model or something, you don't need to do automatic weights every time. If you already did the weight paints and you're satisfied with the way they are, you can just go parent, and we can do what we did this time, go to parent empty groups, and it'll parent those weights to the corresponding weights that are on the armature. So I don't know if that made sense. So if you painted thigh R already, but it's not parented to the armature and you don't want to lose that paint to the automatic weights, just do empty groups. I hope I explained that properly because I'm going to look like an idiot, but and again, kind of it. So we have our model. We're going to unhide our armature. And as you can see, bada bing, bada boom. Needs a little work. We're probably bring that upper arm up a bit more since there's no clavicle, or no shoulder, rather. So we'll go to upper arm and just kind of blend that in chest a bit more. Weight paint. Probably not chest, probably. Well, we'll probably actually subtract the chest a bit. Just, like I said, blend it a bit more. There we go. And we'll go down to upper arm. Oh, well, actually, where was upper arm? Here it is. Bring that up a bit so we can kind of get that deformation. And this is really just trial and error. Honestly, there's no set way to do this part, but just do it. If something doesn't work, go back, touch it up. You know, it's fine. You can do it. I believe in you. We'll go down to the next upper arm. We're going to add a little bit more up here. There we go. Bada bing, bada boom. We'll blur it just to be safe. Blur the other one too. Let's see how that moves. Oops, wrong. Go to pose mode. There we are. Getting there. I don't think she really raises her arms that high though, does she? Still, that looks kind of goofy. So we're actually going to take down off of upper armor. We're going to blend it a bit more. And this is the real tedious part. A lot of this is just monotonous work. And that's really the gist of it. It's not hard. It's not inherently hard anyway, if you know what you're doing. But it just takes a while. I wish there was a clavicle bone. That would really help, but it does not appear to have those. And it's also, again, very important. Actually, I don't think I mentioned this, but you should not delete bones. Do not delete bones. If you delete bones, your armature and your animations are going to fuck the hell up. If you have too many bones or you don't need a bone, just don't weight paint to it. Just set it free. Just do not adhere it to any weight paints and you'll be good. I made that mistake and I could not figure out why my model was so distorted. It was because I deleted the pinky bone on a three-handed model. And so make sure not to do that. It will bite you in the butt. I just realized we don't have a neck bone either, so maybe I should parent that to the head. I'll probably parent it to the chest. I didn't realize how simple the armature on Huntress was. Interesting. I will have to remember that for next time. And since we don't have a neck, or a neck bone rather, I'm going to kind of bring this up a bit. Oops, turn that radius up. Not that up though. You know, we probably don't want this completely red, so kind of like be a little judicious, a little restrictive with how much you put on. Oops. And also how much you take away. Or the eraser is just as much a tool to create as it is to destroy. Probably add a bit more though. There we go. Now we'll go to the head. I'll bring that, blur that a bit. can't believe I didn't see that we didn't have a neck bone earlier. That seems like a thing to notice. Wait, smooth, boom. I'll probably take a bit off of the chest area with that. And again, if anything's confusing, just leave a comment and I will do my best to address it. It can be tough, and if you don't know what you're doing, or if it's your first or second time, even it's not easy. It's a lot at once. And the important bit is to be patient with yourself because learning new things is hard. It was for me, and it might be for you. Might not be, but if it is, don't worry about it. That's my inspirational quote for the day, I guess. Jeez. Cool, so we have our model. And this is the part, it's always good to test it. It's always good to make sure that you are sort of doing good, because it's better to realize it now than when you're in Unity and you got to go all the way back and do it again. But I've definitely been there, and it's inevitable sometimes. Sometimes you're just gonna inevitably fuck up, but it's a learning experience. Take that as you will. It's like, oh well, now you know what to do next time. I should probably bring these upper arms lower, shouldn't I? There we go, like that. I think that looked kind of good last time. I promise I won't spend like a million years on this. I'll probably just time skip this, honestly. I could really spend forever just nitpicking this part. Nope, don't like that. Do not like that. I think Jeremy's looking pretty good. Go here, test the legs. Legs are pretty good. Bit of a weird bend in the knee. So I'll probably fix that a little bit. Go to the calf and kind of blend that. Yeah, that calf comes up way too high. Sometimes it's good to keep the armature on top, even if it's kind of in the way. It tells you where the bone ends, and you don't do what I did and kind of overpaint. Add a little bit of a blur here. Also get rid of this spot up here that I left behind. It's good to run through it too and kind of like make sure that you didn't miss anything. Which is effectively what we're doing here. But the important bit is really to just be patient and be patient with yourself and kind of know that this is not an easy thing to do. But, with this, hopefully, tutorial, you will have the tools you need to learn. It's fun. It's honestly really fun. Those calves came up way too high. Let's try now. Much better. Ooh, much better. Nice. See? A little weight paint goes a long way. See those whole ass light. Ooh. Don't like that. That is not. She doesn't have a. Oh, wait, no, she does have a pelvis. I guess I should probably alleviate some of that pelvis. I think I made the pelvis a bit too thick, if you will. So yeah, that's also really low. I made that really low. Holy shit. So we're gonna actually, maybe it is better to leave the skeleton. See, I'm still learning. It's always a learning process. I'll do it 3 times that time. Probably actually don't want the sides to be like closer to the hips. We don't want, or thighs rather. We don't want it to be too red. So put that down a notch, and we'll see how we did. Oh wait, I'm not. I thought I had the skeleton selected. I did not. Yeah, it's much better. Oh, it's much better. See, a little weight paint does go a long way. That all seems good. That's good. I'm actually gonna. I know it's been so long in this part, and I'm sorry, but it is tedious, but it is important. It is arguably one of the most important parts. We're gonna actually kind of just subtract a little bit more from up here as a whole. Get a little closer to the arm. I think we just want less on the torso, really, or at least lighter up at the shoulder, where the clavicle would be. Because some armatures do have a clavicle. This one is not one of those ones. We'll smooth it for good measure. It's good not to over smooth. As you can see, I'm kind of like doing it as I adjust rather than just going haywire with it, but I'm still kind of learning how to use it, but I do like using it more often than not. That's the head. Actually, that's important. So no head. Perfect. Even without a neck, it's really good. So we have our Jeremy. I'm gonna move these. Fuck, I should have moved those feet in, but it's fine. No, the feet are fine actually. They're not fine. So we're gonna go into edit mode. We're gonna go to click the symmetry again, just like we did with the pose. And we're gonna click this little ball down here. And we're gonna make sure not to disconnect anything first, but we're also gonna just move the, ooh, shit. We're actually gonna drag and drop that whole foot because I don't want to leave anything behind. Move those up, move them in, take these knees, make sure you drag and drop on joints because you don't want to separate them. If you separate them, it's gonna fuck up your armature and your animations, and it's not gonna work. It's gonna look terrible. We don't want that. We only make good stuff here. Yeah, it's a little bow-legged. Probably move these in a bit more. Oops. Select the foot. Then, there you go. Beautiful. Edit mode's important because it edits the armature without having to apply the transform. And also, as you can see, I don't need to set the rest pose again because we did it in edit mode. I don't know exactly how it works. I'm not that savvy with it, but it is good stuff. We can probably move those wrists in too. So we'll go back into edit mode, select the wrists, symmetry still on, we'll move those in. Perfect. And that is our Jeremy. So, we parented our armature. We weight painted, as we saw. We, what else did we do? Kind of trimmed it up. cleaned it up a bit. Learned the, I guess, bare bones basics of weight painting, and probably going to speed through most of it. And then now we did the first part. That would be Blender. Next, we're going to do Unity. And I'll discuss more in that part. But yeah, let's get to it. Wow, here we are. We're in Unity, something that I have little to no experience in outside of Risk of Rain 2 modding. I'm going to do my best to explain what I'm doing. I do know what I'm doing in the context of Risk of Rain, but Unity as a program is still an enigma to me. So hopefully I don't get too confusing here, but it should be pretty straightforward. So I am currently using a older version of Unity, actually. I don't know if that's really necessary because I've seen so many different versions that you have to use toss around. I've seen like, oh, you got to use this one from 2018. Oh, but this one from 2019 in this tutorial. They say you have to use those versions. I don't know if that's true, so it's really hard to say. But I'm using 2019.4.26, which is just the April 26, 2019 version, I guess. And I will link in the description to those as well. So that's the one I'm using. If you have another one installed, you can already try it, I guess. But if you want to just use the same one I'm using, 2019.4.26 is the way to go. So the first order of business is we're going to install something called a package. I guess from what I can gather, packages are like add-ons in Blender, where you can kind of just install them in a multitude of different ways. The way we're going to do it, though, is grab this link right down here, and I'll, of course, again, link to this. And this is the Risk of Rain skin builder. This is a Unity plugin that will give us the tools we need to actually replace the skin. It's super easy, super quick. There's a tutorial out there that's really outdated by the guy who made it. Bless him. He did amazing work with this, but that tutorial is not not great. I don't think anyway. It took me days to figure out how to make my first skin because it was very outdated. But this is a very good plugin. So thank you again, King Enderbrine, for that. And we're going to go back to Unity. We're going to grab this little link right down here, Unity Package Manager. We're going to go to Window, which might be in a different place depending on the version of Unity you're using. But for this version, it is under, I think this version onward actually, is under Window. And then we'll go to Package Manager. We'll let this load up real quick. It takes a second. There we go. And now we have this. Oop, there we go. We're going to go here. And we're going to add package from Git URL. Basically, that was the website we were just on, was, I think, GitHub is what it's called. It's basically like a programming kind of sharing website. It's like, I don't know, I guess Imgur for coding. I'm not a coder, so don't quote me on that. But we're going to paste that link we got in here. Boom. Add. And it's going to ask you a few questions in a second once it loads through. And this is a brand new file. As you can see, there's nothing here. My voice is getting dry. And this is going to be like, oh, this is like, it contains scripts and assemblies that use obsolete APIs and stuff. Just go ahead. It's fine. I've never had a problem with this. And boom, it's in. So what that added is you're going to notice when you right click and go to create, you're going to see Risk of Rain skins right up top. Boom. And this also, I don't think this is here before, but I've never used this. Risk of Rain skins is what you want. So we're actually going to create two folders. The first one is going to be called resources. And that's going to be where we put our, of course, resources for the skin. The next one is going to be the actual mod. This is where the fun begins. So we're going to go back here. We're going to go back to folder. We're going to title this one, what should we title this? Jeremy mod. I'm going to click it. And here we're going to create Risk of Rain skins, skin mod info. And this is basically just stuff like the title, the author, the person who made the mod, the version number. But there's one important detail that we will get to in this. And so the mod's going to be called Jeremy mod. The author is yours truly, Audrey from Earth, allegedly. And then version is 1.0.0. Boom. Now the really important part is under skins. You're going to want to set this skin size to 1. What this is going to do is add an element. And what an element is basically just, this is the mod. This is the file that we're going to be replacing Huntress with. So we actually haven't made it yet, in the case of Unity anyway. So we're going to actually rename this real quick. We're going to name this Jeremy mod info. Actually, I have a better name. Let's call it Jermod info. And then we're going to create another folder. I know, a lot of folders, but trust me, we'll need them. So new folder, title it skin. Boom, click it. And then we're going to create, again, risk grain skins. Skin definition. Now this is the bulk. This is the mod. This is what we're here for, baby. This is the good stuff. So we don't, unless your mod requires another mod to actually function, you don't need to worry about mod dependency. But for body name, we're actually going to pull up the index. I think I mentioned it prior, but the index is this thing that you might have seen it under Blender scripts when we were here last time, getting the scripts. Right here, Survivors of the Void, Survivor Render Index. There's one linked in the old video, but it is, again, horrendously outdated since Survivors of the Void came out, and those numbers are no longer correct. So this is the one you want. It's the one that's in the Blender scripts that I'll link below. And here's the table. Now, you don't need to know all of this. Obviously, you only need to know one thing. And the one thing you need to know is Huntress body. So this is the name of the body we're using. This is going to tell the script, hey, we're taking from the Huntress body, only interacts with that index, if that makes sense. So we're going to put Huntress body right here. Name token localizations. We'll set the size to 1, which again will add an element for us to edit. The language is English. The value, this is the name, we'll put Jermod. I should put Jeremy Huntress, why not? Make it a little more concise. Now the unlockable name, I believe, we'll just actually call it Jeremy. The unlockable name, I don't know if this is something separate or something we need to fill out, so I always just kind of fill it out just to be safe, but unlockable name, Jeremy. Base skins. So this is how many skins we're actually adding. Like, say you want to replace more than one of the meshes on the actual model. Like, oh, I want to replace the scarf, or I want to replace the bow. This is where you would put that in, I think. So element 0. Oh, I'm sorry, actually, no, it's not true. You want this to be 1, and you want this to be 0. However, I'm not entirely sure why, but if that doesn't work, set this element right here, element 0, to 1. And it might fix your problem. It's happened in the past. I'm not entirely sure why or what causes it. Normally, though, 0 works. So for now, we'll leave it at 0. Now, mesh is what I was talking about before, where if we wanted to replace more than one mesh, we'll add more elements to this. For now, we're only replacing... Well, we're actually going to replace 2 meshes, because I don't want the scarf. Next, we're going to replace the base mesh. And we don't have our mesh imported just yet, but we'll do that in a second. So we're going to go here, Huntress mesh. 10 is the Huntress mesh. Right there. Awesome. Now what we're going to do is go back to assets, right over here on the left. We're going to go back to our resources folder, right click, import new asset. And what we're going to do is we're going to take that blend file of our Jeremy Huntress, and we're just going to slap that whole thing right in there. Just boom, right in there. And again, I already have the texture set up, but that's a whole other ballpark for getting those set up. I'll probably record an example video later of that, but we don't need to do it here because the textures are already on a single file. Remember, one material per mesh. So we have our blend file. We'll go back to our skin mod. Actually, we'll rename this Jerma Skin Depth. And here's our model. You can preview it here. And again, if you had more than one material, it would only load up the one material. So there would only be like, say like the first material was his shirt. It would only load the shirt. But since we have one material, it loads the whole thing at once. Easy. I hope that makes sense. I really hope that makes more sense out loud. So we don't really need to have this here. It's just for a preview. But we do want to go back to our skin definition. And under 10, you know, element 1, where our Huntress index is, we'll go to resources. And we'll drag and drop that mesh right in there. Boom. Beautiful. Now, next, we want to go to render infos. And we're going to do 1, because we're only texturing Jerma. If we were texturing the bow, we would do 2. But since we're only doing the one mesh, it's 1's fine. Now we're going to actually create a new material. We're going to go here, create material. And we'll do Jerma material. There we go. And then we're going to go import new asset again. Oh, actually, yes, that's right. Import new asset. We're going to go to Jerma Huntress again. Go into our files for the model. And here's our texture. Amazing. I think that's the right one. I hope that's the right one. Go back to our skin definition. Actually, no, sorry. Go to the Jerma material that we made. And the package that we made, or imported rather, from GitHub, it's going to be right up here under shader. It's going to be the first one. If it's not here, scroll around a bit. It might be lower, but for me, it's right up top. We go to fake ROR. Oops, that's the wrong one. Fake ROR. Hopu Games. Deferred. Standard. And that'll bring up the Risk-Terrain shader for the game. It kind of gives it that effect that, you know, the cell shading of Risk-Terrain has. Super handy and super easy. So this is open. We're going to take our UV texture, which is just the unwrap, the diffuse texture. I guess. I don't know. Actually, this might be combined. I think this is a UV. And we're actually going to bring our normal strength down a bit because normals are very sensitive. And I found that if I have it at 1, it often shows up as see-through. But bringing it down to about 0.5 around that area is more than enough to kind of normalize it. No pun intended, normalize it. And it should look fine. So we're actually going to spawn in our mesh just to make sure everything looks okay. And he's going to spawn in like this. Don't worry about that. He's just tired. You don't actually need to edit this part. Take our gem material. And boom, there he is. Oh, awesome. He's not going to look Risk-Terrainified here because this isn't the game. It's once you get in the game, it'll take effect. But yeah, this is our boy. This is our material, and this is our model. So we're actually going to go back to the skin definition. And under material, we are going to, oops, shit. There we go. We're going to take our gem material and drop it right in here. Under default material and element 0, under render infos. And we're going to do default shadow casting mode on. And I realized also, we got to put the render reference again in here, which, as we discussed, 10 is the Huntress index. So 10 will be here. And that'll tell us that this material is going on mesh 10, or index 10 rather. So I guess that is mesh 10. And one thing I did forget to mention, sorry, I need to drink some water. Is we'll go back to the Jerma material real quick. And we're actually going to turn on screen space dithering. And what this is basically when the camera gets close to the model, it's just going to kind of go see-through, so you can see through it. And that's just an important thing for consistency, really, in the game engine, but it's important to click it on. So save. Do Jermod. And this should be good. One thing we didn't do, I just realized, is we didn't do the icon. So we'll click the icon up here, and this will bring up this little kind of like drop-down thing. We can just create from colors. And this will be how it appears in game as an icon in the character select. So what is your colorblind? I think that's blue. So we're gonna do blue. And we'll do white, probably brown. What are some Jeremiah colors? And then do another dark blue, I guess. Darker blue. That's like those are like Jerma colors, right? That's good. So that's our mod. That's the good stuff. Hopefully, fingers crossed, knock on wood, this is gonna work the first time, and I'm not gonna look like a giant fool. But hey, there's always room for error, so we'll see what happens. So we're gonna go over here, and we're gonna actually go back to skins on the JRMod info, the info thing right outside our skin folder, and we're gonna go here and click on our definition, and that'll tell us, hey, this is the mod we're putting in, and this is what we're gonna use to build. So nothing, we don't really need to mess with anything else here. We can just go ahead and click build. So, all right, our mod is built right here. We have our .dll, and that's our mod. So basically, that's it. That's like, congratulations, you made your mod. However, there is one more thing we should probably do, and that is test it. So I'm not going to go over how to install mods manually. I'll leave a link in the description again for a video that does a much better job of describing that than I could. But we're basically going to go in here to Risk Array 2 again, where we found our files before. And instead of going to Risk Array 2 underscore data, we're going to go to Beppin EX. And if you followed the video, this won't be here by vanilla, but if you follow the video I link in the description, it'll be there, and you can just drop the mod in there, and boom, you're good. So we'll go here, Beppin EX, we'll go to plugins, and these are the mods. We'll drop these right in. There's our mod. It's in the plugins folder. And yeah, then we'll test it. So let's get in there. So, we are in Risk Array 2. This is the moment of truth. This is what you're amounting to. This is what's going to tell us, did we do it right? And I just realized Commando is fucking dead. What happened? Well, anyway, we're going to go ahead and check them out now. So, moment of truth. Here's Jerma right here. And we did it! Yes! I'm actually very surprised that worked the first time. I'm very happy right now. So let's get on the game. Let's check it out. Let's see what happens. There's a few weight painting issues on the ass. I can see a little vertex kind of hanging off, but we can always go back and flip one file, fix that, and it'll be easy. Yeah. There's a few weight painting issues, but other than that, we got him on, baby. We got him on. Sorry if that was really loud. I realized that game is super loud. But yeah. Congratulations, you're now the proud owner of whatever mod you just made, and I'm hope that you found this tutorial helpful. And again, I'll have a Spark Notes version of it up too, where it just kind of gives you the most important parts, and we don't need to go into the nitty-gritty of it. But yeah, again, congratulations, you did it. This is not an easy thing. And, it takes practice. It gets easier as you go, and you kind of learn the mechanics. It's one of those things where the more you do it, the more you learn. And that's the case with most things, but especially for this. So without rambling too much, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope you got some use out of it. It's not the best. Again, it's my first tutorial, but you know what? I had fun, and I hope you did too. So take care.